Okay, well, I'll go ahead and welcome everyone on behalf of NIUS. So I'm in Syracuse, Kelly Cooney, NIUS member and board member. So I'm right where Greg is, not in the same building, but we have similar views out our windows. I wanted to remind everyone that we have a number of upcoming webinars. So if you go to our webpage, you'll find more information on those that are coming up. Next up on Friday, we have Manage Your Conflicts Before They Manage You. Then we've got Get More Math, Reflective Listening, the Key to Meaningful Conversations, Burlington English, Self-Care, the Key to Building Resilience, and more. So go ahead and check those out when you have time. We are so happy that you joined today. We saw there was quite a bit of interest in today's webinar. So Greg, thank you so much for reaching out to us and for planning this. So again, on behalf of NIUS, we'll welcome Greg Stultz today. Many of you have met him at our conference and other events from New Readers Press, and then also Catherine Bienfait from Data Recognition Corps. We're so happy you're joining us today. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. So this is Catherine Bienfait. I guess I'm going to kick it off and go over the first part. So maybe I'll just share my screen here. Let me share and then bring my PowerPoint. All right, well, you can see my screen. I see Greg shaking his head, so very good. All right, so today we have two-part to our program. I'm going to first talk about some TASC 2021 updates, and then Greg will be covering the second part on TASC-prep. So again, my name is Catherine Bienfait. I'm the Senior Program Manager for TASC in New York, based in Albany. And I've met many of you at NIUS before, or some of the conferences that we've done locally in the regional offices. So again, I am happy to present what we have for 2021. Obviously, it's been a tough year during COVID-19. 2020 was a really tough year for all of us. And we hope that you are all safe and healthy. We'll cover a little bit of task testing during COVID-19. And then, since I think we have a lot of teachers today attending, we'll review some of the resources that we have for preparing your students in preparation for the task test. Some of you are veterans and may have seen this before. Some of you may be new, and this will be your first time that you will see it. But I will show you how to find information on preparing your students. And then I will cover task accommodations. When we look at the number of calls that we get at the task help desk, task accommodations is the #1 topic that we get questions on. So I think a review here would be helpful. And then we'll have time for Q&A. So again, we'll just have a half hour here until I pass the baton over to Greg. If you have questions as we go along, please put them in the chat, and then we'll review them at the end. Okay, so let's start with task testing during COVID-19. There are a lot of questions about test center reopening and configuration, and those are not DRC questions, they're really SED questions. So I would guide you to the NICED HSE website, where they have guidance on reopening. And this includes reopening criteria and social distancing and mask requirements, as well as clinic protocols. Everything is obviously coming from the governor's office. So if you want to know which sites are open, they would communicate their schedule to SED, and they would be posted on their website. So that's where you would have find this information. And they, when I talked to SED and said, you know, what do you want me to say about COVID-19 and test center reopenings? They said, well, any questions, please have our test centers email us at hsetc@niced.gov. So specific questions on test center reopening would go to that email. Another thing they mentioned to me is there are a lot of questions still about the Regents HSE pathway, and that's the fourth pathway for students who have dropped out, but they may have passed a Regents exam, and there are waivers available in the time of COVID-19. So again, if you have questions on attachment R, what are the waivers and how can your students who have passed one Regents or more than one, up to 4 Regents, get credit on their subtest and not have to take the TASC subtest. I refer you to the guidance on the Regents HSE pathway on the NICED website. All right, and then if we have some test center administrators in the room here on the Zoom, we always have test center administrator training. So SED gives some training, and they have their new and renewal training that they offer. And if you go to their website, you will see the announcements page, and they will say when those trainings occur. And then we have also the recorded DRC training modules that are available on the TASC Secure Zone. And if you are in the test center and you're an administrator, you would have a test administration manual, and you would be able to find the information on how to access the TASC Secure Zone on page 6. All right, so now let's talk about TASC. And this is a review for some of you who have seen this before. If you are new, just want to share again, if you're preparing your students, what is on the TASC test. So we have different item types. We have multiple choice items, or also called selected response items, on all subtests. And those are machine scored. One writing prompt on the writing subtest, and that's hand scored. We also have on the math subtest some gridded responses that are machine scored. We have technology enhanced items on all your computer-based subtests. And what we call technology enhanced items are drag and drop. So we have the answers, and the students can use their mouse and drag the answers into the place for the solution in the sentence, or even in math section. We have multiple correct responses, so we call those technology enhanced as well. This is where you would ask a question where you would ask the student, what are the 2 correct answers? And you have a list, and they need to select 2 answers. And then we have evidence-based selected response. So those are usually 2-part questions when you have a passage that you read, and then you answer a question. And then in the second part, you need to explain why you chose the answer that you selected in the first part. So those evidence-based selected response items are also what we call technology enhanced. And if you administer this test on paper, we have similar items. We call them TE twins. So for your technology enhanced twin, they're a paper item that demonstrates the same skill as those technology enhanced items, but they're on paper. Now we have TASC-prep materials available, and if you don't know the website, tasktest.com, so it's all one word, tasktest.com, it would be a really good idea to bookmark this website. And I'm going to show you how to get there. I'm going to go here. A lot of the information that you will get on the PowerPoint, you will get the copy as well. I want to show you where to find it. So I'm on tasktest.com under test takers. I would go to this here, this resources, and click on that. Okay, and then I will scroll through some of the information. basically, the information that will be helpful to you is all here under test takers, resources. So we have a lot of information on test basics. I want to show you that we have some information about registering and scheduling, your test blueprints, your reference sheets. And so let's start with this. Your sample test items. You have some examples of argumentative essay writing prompt, another example of informational essay writing prompt, and then the scoring guidance for the essay. So you have all these exemplars and the scoring guidance so you can understand how DRC scores those essays. You also have printable practice tests in English for all your 5 subtests, and then you have them in Spanish as well. So that's the first thing that I wanted to show you, your practice items, and then your essay sample exemplars. The next thing, going back to my presentation, I wanted to show you is the blueprints. So I'm going to show you where they are. I just scrolled over them, but the blueprints really detail what's including on the test. And the reason I'm showing here the mathematics blueprint is that we all know that the mathematics subtest is the hardest subtest to pass for students. And if there's any test that they're going to have to take twice, most likely it's going to be the math subtest. So this page will show you at the highest level what is covered on the test. So you'll see that algebra is 26% of the test, geometry is 23%, functions 26%, and then we have lower percentages here for number and quantity, 13%, and statistics and probability, 12%. And then under that, we have each subdomain and the percentage of the subdomains. So that helps you cover, if you are teaching in a classroom, what do I need to cover when I'm teaching math? This is exactly here what you need to cover. Then we'll show you for the math subtest the number of items and the type of items. So you'll have 37 multiple choice items with a testing time of 57 minutes. And then 12 gridded responses, and then two point items. I'm just wondering if we should mute everybody because we're hearing some background noise. Let's see if I can see participants. Okay, I muted you. So we don't have background noise that bothers other people. All right, so before I go to the test achievement gap report, let me go back to tasktest.com. So on the same page that I was showing you, going back to the top on resources, if you scroll down, you will see that this is where you will find your test blueprints, okay? PQRs are the forms that are being administered right now this year. You will have your blueprint for math, reading, science, social studies, and writing. And if I click on the math blueprint, this is, let's just make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see. This is what I showed you, the percentages overall. And then if you scroll down, you will see that now we have the details for each standard, the specific standard under adult ed CCR level, the description of the standard, and then this column is important as well. It says the emphasis for form. So anything that's a high emphasis is going to be on the test. If it's a low emphasis, it may or may not be on the form, but any high level emphasis here, standard will be on the test. So you will see that creating equations, you have 3 standards that are high emphasis. You definitely want to cover this in the classroom and make sure that your students have mastered those skills. So this goes on and on. It's a long document. I'm not going to show it all to you, but you will have high, medium, low emphasis for all the standards that are covered on this test. So that's a very helpful document to you for your classroom. Okay, back to my PowerPoint style. The next thing, and I'm going to open this report for you, that would be very helpful for you when you're teaching and preparing your student, is what we call the task test achievement gap. And you will find this under score, reporting, and interpretation. Again, same page, this resources page, everything is there. It is the last report, task test achievement gap here. So it might be small on your screen, but hopefully you can see it, the 4th link, and we'll take you there. What this report is, it's a report that explains what are the standards that make the biggest difference between passing and failing on the task test. So we're going to take a look at some examples. So under each domain, there are 2 or 3 standards that would identify that will make the biggest difference between passing and failing. So let's take a look at algebra right here. The first standard, solve linear equations and inequalities in one variable, including equations with coefficients represented by letters. This is a skill that your students must master if they're going to pass the math subtest. And again, I'm focusing on math, but this report covers all subtests. I'm focusing on math because we know that this is the most challenging subtest. So you can see under algebra that your second standard represent constraints by equations or inequalities and by systems of equations and or inequalities, and interpret solutions as viable or non-viable options in a modeling context. And then the third standard, solve quadratic equations. So quadratic equations in particular is a very difficult topic for students, and this could really make or break their subtest for math. So again, we have the same for geometry, functions, and so on and so forth for the mathematics subtest, and then we have all subtests covered in this report. So in terms of, I know time is limited, and this is a tool for you to help prioritize your time and your instruction in the classroom to make sure that your students are successful. So going back to where I was in my task resources, I want to show you again where you can find it. I'm scrolling in that same page. Under score, reporting, and interpretation, test achievement gap, it's here, the 4th link under this category of score, reporting, and interpretation. That's where you'll find this report. I strongly recommend that you use this report. All right, you will get this, so you will be able to look at the other domains. Another tool to prep your students is the online tools training, and that is for those of you who are preparing your students for an online test. And I know that in New York, we still have 70% of tests that are given on paper, but you know, that's been evolving, and there's a goal to increase that number. One of the objections that we hear about online testing is, oh, well, students are not comfortable with it, they're not used to it. But the truth is, we have this tool available for students to practice in and to become comfortable with the tool itself, so that by the time they test online, they would only have to focus on the questions themselves, not navigation in the tool. So where do you find this? Again, it's all on the same page. It's called Online Tools Training. And this is a tool for practicing questions in the test. It needs to be run on Google Chrome as a browser. It will not work on other browsers, but it's not timed, it's not scored, it's just for familiarity. And so let me show you what it looks like. So you will see that we have it for TASC and we have it for TASC readiness. Let me go there and show you what it looks like. I'm at this place, the online tool training, and if I click on the, not on the logo, but if I click on online tools training, we can take it in English or take it in Spanish. So this is an activity that could be done in the classroom. All you need to do is you don't need to have anything installed but your Chrome browser. And let's say you want to do it in English, you could do it as a classroom activity. Let's say I want to practice in a mathematics subtest. So I click on mathematics. And although on the real test, students would have an individual test ticket with their unique username and password, this is a public tool that's available to everyone. You can practice in the classroom at a public library. And the username and password for this tool are written just above the username and password box. So here it's math OTT for username, and for password it is test 1 2 3 4, and click sign in. And this is your welcome page. So on the real day of the test, it will say the real name of the examinee and their session that have their real test center name and their UUID. But this is a public tool available to anyone. So you have this training examinee and you continue and you click the mathematics subtest. And this tool is going to show how to use all of the navigation. So it will really direct the students to click all the next button, the help button. So they click next. The pointer tool, the flag tool. So it's going to go over all of these little icons that are in the tool and direct the students to practice with them. One thing that's important is to have these 3 gray circles. On the real day of testing, this will in an online testing environment, this will show up on the screen to make sure that the Chromebook or the laptop or the computer that is used for testing is ready, and then they can begin the test. So in this tool, you will see some practice hints at the top. This practice hints ask the student to use the cross off button to cross off questions that are incorrect. So click on that and let's see which of the two which comparison of the 2 functions is correct. Both functions have the same starting value. Well, that's not it. So let's cross this one. And then let's say I select this one, then click next. Now we're going to practice using a keypad. So we can use this keypad here and use the fraction button to enter fractions. So let's see, it's 3 divided by 7 or 3. If I don't like my answer, I can erase it. I want to enter a function 3 and divided by 7. And then click next. And there are going to be a lot of practice items. All of the buttons at the top are going to be practiced. This is your calculator that comes up for the calculator section. This is your reference sheet that comes up when you need it. You can review your questions and you can go back to the questions. I only answered 2. Okay, I still have to do these. So if I skip and I want to go back, I can do that. Return to questions. Also, I'm not sure if I'm not sure about this question and I want to skip, I can flag it and I click next. And then I'm going to keep on going. And when I review at the end, I will see, oh, this is flagged. I need to go back. And then other interesting options is a pause button. So a pause button is used to make sure that the screen doesn't time out. It doesn't change the clock. I mean, the math and all the other subtests are timed. But if somebody needs to take a bathroom break, this makes sure that they are not going to have a timeout on their clock and their screen, but they can come back and resume. And then options, those are visual options that are available to all students. No accommodation is needed for the students. You can change the background of your screen here. You can also change contrasting colors. In that case, you change the background and the text of your screen. Another option that's very popular is reverse contrast. So now you have a black background and white text. Actually, I need to disable that if I want to go back. And then also masking. If you add a mask and if you want to hide the section of the questions or the graphs, you can move the mask around. And you can also remove it. Another thing for the magnifier, you can do a 1.5 or 2 times increased magnification. This is going to be helpful. So you have some students who are visually impaired. They can definitely do this online still, and this would be your equivalent of your large print online. So you're magnifying. So that was a little bit of you know, just what, there's a lot more to it, but I know we're limited on time. But I just want to show you that there is this tool available to everyone. You can practice with your students in the classroom and make sure that they're comfortable with the navigation itself. Now the last part of your preparation for your students is using the Readiness Assessment. We have 4 forms available, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. They're available and aligned with your PQR forms. You can order them print at $15 per battery or online at $3 per subtest, which is the same price. In this age of COVID-19, remote testing is available on the online forms for forms 8 and 9 only. So if you are doing some distance learning with your students, you could definitely give them the forms 8 and 9 online to make sure that they're ready. This is the link for your order form, and there's a brochure here. So order forms can also be found on that same page. Going back to my task resources, your task test order forms are here. You can order your readiness form right here from that resource page. All right, I'm seeing that I am close to my time, but I want to show you a few more things on accommodations. And I'll review your questions after this. Accommodations, if you're a teacher, you may help some of your students get an accommodation for testing. Accommodations are available for task testing. And really the goal for accommodations is to provide equitable access to all examinees. Many times, those students already have an existing IEP from their school days, and those IEPs don't expire. So DRC will, 99% of the cases, will accept existing documentation. That could be an IEP, even from the 3rd grade, 15 years ago, that will be accepted. A 504 plan will be accepted. A proof of prior approval in a test that was given in New York, a standardized testing environment, we'll accept those. So most students will already have documentation. If they don't have documentation, then they can also get a qualified professional evaluation. But most students don't need a new one. They already have documentation available. It's important that you use the, if you help them prepare their request, there is a request form on the TASC-test.com website, and it's important to use the form from there because it's updated, and make sure that all checkboxes are checked for the accommodation request that you're asking for. The accommodations will be approved if the accommodation request matches the existing documentation, like your IEP. Okay, so as long as they are in line, the accommodation will be approved. The only time it's pending or sent back is documentation is missing or there's inconsistencies between the request and the documentation. So you examinees are responsible for the process, but you may help them. If you do, then make sure that they submit the task accommodation request to DRC, provide documentation of their disability, and they will receive approval for their accommodation. Their approval will be posted into their registration portal profile. They will need to remind and notify the test center that they have an approval, because if they have extended time or any type of private room, then the test center will not be able to schedule them together with the other students, and they need to do special scheduling for those tests. Where do you find this accommodation for disabilities? Again, on the same page, we have TASC PQR accommodations. We have here examinee guidelines. For you, if you're a teacher, examinee guidelines are really important, and I would point you to the TASC accommodation descriptions. The descriptions will help understand what needs to be checked. The request form is right here, but the descriptions are, I'm clicking on this just to show you, make it bigger. What do we mean by an accommodation? All right, audio CDs are available for paper-based, not computer-based. And we have a description of each accommodation. And then we have text-to-speech in computer-based, not paper. What's the difference? You have all the explanations here. What are accommodations that are available, breaks, calculator, and duration and physical support and so on. So I would point you to the descriptions. A lot of people are not familiar with the descriptions and don't know what to ask for, but that's all explained there. All right, and I will make sure you get this presentation. Here's my contact information. You can reach out to me if you have any questions, but I do see that we have a few questions, so let's see. All right, let's go back to, okay. Let's go back to the top. Okay, the link in the chat, I can put the link in the chat. It is TASC-test.com, okay, and resources. Are the 2-point questions only on the computer-based test? No, we have equivalent questions on the paper-based test. So we have 2-point questions on paper and computer-based tests. Those are called the evidence-based selected response. The first part of the question, you answer a question based on what you read, and then the second part, you answer why did you choose this? So you prove that you just didn't randomly pick an answer in the first part. Somebody said this is great, you can project in the classroom and do as a group. All right, I think this person was referring to the online tools training. I'm always glad to hear this good feedback, thank you. And some people do it with TABE online as well, definitely. Yes. Can you print? You can definitely print your sample items that are available for printing. You can print your reports, you can print your blueprint. You can do a lot of printing of what our resources are. You can print the task achievement gap report. So certainly you can print. For the online tool training, the whole point is to practice online. So you would do this on a computer. Are there CDs available for the paper readiness for accommodations? No, there's no CD for readiness. There isn't. Does the documentation need to come from a New York school? If you're talking about accommodations and somebody, when they were younger, they lived in a different state and they had an IEP, let's say New Jersey or Connecticut, that would be fine. We will accept it, okay? Somebody says, I recommend registering in the task registration system before they submit their accommodation request so it matches up correctly. That's a very good point. Thank you for that. It is true that it is what we recommend as well. The readiness assessment sheet says the writing is 75 minutes, but the program we have for online times out up to 1 hour. Is the 1 hour for the essay only, or in the 15 minutes for the multiple choice? Okay, in the readiness assessment, even on the online portion, the essay is going to be written on the piece of paper and the teacher will score that piece. So normally we allow 45 minutes for the essay. So that might be the reason, but otherwise I would contact help desk for that. 45 minutes is allowed for the essay. What is the difference between websites TASC-test.com and New York TASC-test.com in terms of resources, etc. So TASC-test.com is the official DRC website. New York TASC-test.com, I'm not sure who handles that, but that's definitely not us. Okay, so TASC-test.com is what I was showing you earlier. Will students be able to type their essay in task readiness? No, they're still not available. So in the writing readiness, you will have all the multiple choice questions and then the essay is written on the piece of paper and the teacher scores. Okay, Greg wants his time. I understand that. So Greg, passing on to you. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for all your information. And good afternoon, everyone. Greg Stultz with New Readers Press, the training coordinator. I'm going to share as much information as possible in these next 20 minutes. And I apologize in advance if I run a little over, and if you need to leave, I completely understand when 1 o'clock rolls around, but we are recording this. And so I would encourage you that if you do have to leave and my lips are still moving, then I will be sending this recording and the PDF of the PowerPoint so that you'll be able to go back and see what you missed. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a whirlwind tour of some of our pre-HSE and task prep solutions. First, let's take a quick look at New Readers Press's online learning for pre-HSE and task. It's actually 2 courses on 1 platform, and that means only 1 learning management system for administrators and instructors to learn, and the same basic course features for students so they can move seamlessly from pre-HSE to task or work in pre-HSE and task courses simultaneously with just one username and password, so super convenient. The pre-HSE course is adapted from our core skills series, instruction delivered at 6th to 8th grade reading level, and it's aligned to the college career readiness standards, which are assessed on the TASC tests. The course is designed to prepare learners for task instruction by strengthening fundamentals and application skills in math, raising reading levels and improving writing fundamentals in reading and writing, and mastering content, reading skills, and vocabulary in social studies and science. Our new online TASC test prep course is aligned to college career readiness and TASC test standards and offers test-specific at-level instruction for those students who are ready. It's flexible, can be used in a variety of different ways by a variety of programs to fit a variety of instructional models. It provides personalized learning, empowering students through highly interactive features, pacing guides, and a lot more that you'll see in a second. And it's accessible around the clock on computer, tablet, and smartphone. The online learning course can be used in the classroom for group instruction, for distance learning programs and virtual classrooms, for independent study to expand the capacity of your program, or maybe to serve learners on a wait list, or for blended learning, a hybrid model incorporating print materials with the online solution. Students can download the free mobile app so they'll be able to study anytime and anywhere, and they can even switch to airplane mode and work offline. When they go back online before closing the app, their work will sync and all time and progress will be saved. So for those on a data plan, this is a big help. So what's in it? Well, analytics, for one, provides useful information for administrators, teachers, and students, interactive content, and this is more than just reading and listening, that better engages learners in myriad ways. Guided practice offers tips and develops critical thinking. Interactive study tools like note-taking, highlighting, bookmarking, and for the pre-HSE courses, there's audio support. Adaptive flashcards for vocabulary building, games for engaging review, self-assessment and review that lets students take ownership of their learning, and as I mentioned, 24-hour access. And that's what I would call a recipe for success. Students will quickly learn to navigate the online learning courses with ease. Each of the 4 courses, math, reading and writing, science, social studies, begins by walking the learner through all the features they will use so they can hit the ground running. Next, a pretest shows their prior knowledge, strengths and weaknesses, and sets the stage for learning and ongoing assessment. A structured study plan moves them through the course, starting with the unit introduction and then objectives before diving into the unit's lessons. And then each lesson is followed by vocabulary practice using vocabulary flashcards and practice questions based on the lesson. A unit test will help determine whether they're ready to advance or where they need to review. And each subject has a post-test. Additionally, the TASC course has not only the post-test, but a practice test for each subject. So let's take a closer look. Now, when a student logs in, they begin on the home page. An adaptive course calendar with daily goals and course completion target dates tracks the progress and serves as an effective pacing guide. The next button takes the students to their current study task in the structured plan. Simple to move forward. Every task is assigned a certain number of knowledge points. When students complete a task, they earn knowledge points toward their daily goal. Let's see, 25 in this example. And 1 knowledge point equals roughly a minute of study time. Students can use this as a time management tool for study. Providing more than just linear instruction, the menu allows students to follow the structured course, access and complete work assigned by their instructor, and participate in private and/or group discussions facilitated by the instructor. Students also have the option to revisit lessons, flashcards, practice questions, and tests at any time to study challenging topics. And there are 4 different games that make review fun and motivating. As students work through the lessons, interactive features like interpreting sources items walk them through how to analyze and interpret passages, pictures, graphics, maps, or data to answer TASC social studies questions here, for example. Helpful tips give examples or add context in the form of vocabulary tips, connect the past to today for social studies, real-world connections, helpful hints, and math facts. Guided practice checks understanding and facilitates critical thinking, providing or hiding hints and answers with just a simple click. So again, very interactive. A toolbar in the top right corner of the lesson features interactive study tools, which allow the students to highlight, to bookmark, and to make notes. And then a toolbox includes one or more of the following, depending on the subject in the course: a calculator, the periodic table, formula sheets, a sketch pad, and the scoring guidelines for writing. Audio support that I mentioned for pre-HSE courses improves reading fluency and can help bridge the gap for struggling readers and transitioning English language learners too. There are 2 different speeds for the audio, by the way. Rating their confidence before moving to the next page of any lesson and seeing a recap of their work will help them decide whether they need to review or they're ready to continue. Students can make the most of their review time by targeting low confidence level areas and returning to their notes, their bookmarked lessons, and highlighted texts. So really this enables and empowers them, helps them to become better learners. They can use their practice question and test dashboards to track their scores and review the questions that they answered incorrectly. Students can even reset questions by clicking on Reset Category for practice questions or Reset Test. Previous test scores are saved for assessing work, and of course for measuring games is crucial. And this can be done up to 3 times per test. For teachers, the learning management system allows them to access the course content, initiate and monitor discussions via the study dashboard. The reporting dashboard lets them customize the study plan for students, access instructor resources, send messages to their students, view progress reports at the individual, student, class, and institution level, and download detailed time on task reports. Using their study dashboard, teachers can use discussions to communicate with students one-on-one or in a group. Worksheets, homework, customized curriculum, writing prompts, links, and more can be sent in the discussion box and even as attachments. Moving to the reporting dashboard, curriculum content can be customized for individual or multiple learners and saved or modified for use with others. Useful templates, rubrics, formula sheets, correlations, and more can be accessed in instructor resources. We have a great template for blended learning that you can download, and that's super handy. Teachers can create banner messages that are displayed across the top of the study dashboard where the student can't miss them. And they also have the ability to create and deliver in-app messages to the student's email box. So lots of ways to communicate. In class reports, teachers and supervisors can view aggregate totals, the class's average progress through the course, and their practice questions and exam averages. They can view totals in progress by individual subject, and they can click Analyze to drill down and see even more. Here, for example, teachers can see individual student performance at a glance, the top 5 lessons with the most low confidence levels, and the vocabulary they're struggling with the most, the 5 hardest practice questions or answered incorrectly the most by categories they can filter, and similarly, the 5 hardest questions per exam, where a drop-down box shows the 5 questions answered incorrectly the most often. The individual student reports have analytics very similar to those in the class reports. The aggregate totals and breakdowns by subject, confidence level breakdown for lessons and flashcards, with even more detailed information on practice and test questions like average answer times and scores. And real-time downloadable session detail reports filterable by class, student, course, and date range provide time on task for distance learning and funding requirements. Capturing more than just session time totals, they show exactly where study time was spent. Tests, practice questions, lessons, vocabulary cards, games, even idle time. So for accountability and accuracy, really great reports. And onboarding is actually pretty easy. You know how I know? Because I can do it. And I am Mr. Inept when it comes to technology. Administrators can quickly and easily create classes and add instructors and students. They can also upload multiple classes, instructors and students using a single CSV file. Frequently asked questions, quick start guides, a comprehensive user guide, and most recently, I just created 6 short tutorial videos that are on our NRP website. Training videos and sessions are provided as well to get you started and keep you moving forward. And it's concurrent licensing. And that means basically less money and less hassle. Instead of purchasing a seat for every student who'll be enrolled in the online program, you pay only for the maximum number of students who'll be logged in at any given time. This means no more worrying about unused seats, no having to revoke licenses and reassign them to other students. It's pretty easy and very cost effective. Moving on to in-print materials. At the pre-HSE level, reading levels 6 to 8, as I mentioned earlier, New Readers Press offers the Core Skills series on which we based our pre-HSE online learning courses. It's the same unit and lesson sequence and content with pre-tests, unit reviews, post-tests, which makes it suitable for blended learning or as a standalone curriculum. The course is designed to prepare learners for at-level HSE instruction by strengthening fundamentals and application skills, raising reading levels, and improving writing fundamentals, and mastering content, reading skills, and vocabulary. And there's also our pre-HSE skill workbook series. This may be old hat for some of you folks, but shame on me if I don't mention them. 7 consumable workbooks that provide basic skills review and practice to accelerate student progress to the higher level thinking skills required for at-level test prep. Each workbook begins with a skills inventory and a diagnostic chart. I know I'm racing. I apologize. I wish I could stop on each page and camp there. Each 2-page lesson begins with a clear explanation of the skill or strategy and examples modeling it. A Your Turn feature provides guided practice, and tips pointing out common errors are included as well. Followed by practice questions or problems, and often an additional activity to extend the learning. All in these 2-page lessons. Answers and explanations for all questions are in the back of each workbook, and a post-test diagnostic chart points to where review may be needed. Our visual literacy series, one of my favorites, covers tables, graphs, scales, charts, diagrams, maps, photos, and editorial cartoons in 3 48-page workbooks. Again, written at reading levels 6 to 8. These workbooks provide much needed instruction and practice for students on the TASC-prep path. Each book offers a wide variety of examples of different types of graphic images. And each image is described and its purpose is explained. Each part is labeled and explained. And the students learn where and how to find information, and then they practice locating it. What stands out to me is that each type of graphic is clearly broken down into parts, and the process for reading each type is broken down into clear steps. And then the guided practice gives students a chance to apply the process and answer questions with hints or tips. The layout is easy to follow and leaves, it takes nothing for granted. When the students move through these books, by the time they get to the end, more than likely they have mastery. Each unit ends with cumulative practice and a unit bonus activity where students get a chance to interact with or create their own graphics. And each book ends with a mixed practice that could be used as a post-test. These questions, by the way, are modeled on standardized test questions. Building a strong vocabulary for academic prep is yet another great resource for preparing adult learners for at-level task test preparation. I don't think anyone would refute the importance of vocabulary for our adult learners. Each of the 12 units, 6 focusing on social, 6 on science topics, introduces 12 vocabulary words over 2 reading passages. Definitions and practice using the new words involves using prior knowledge and personalization strategies, which I think is crucial. Then it goes into analyzing word parts, as you see here, prefixes, suffixes, roots, using context clues, identifying parts of speech, using the dictionary, and working with multiple meaning words. This is just a really robust, attack and battle plan for improving vocabulary. Each unit ends with a review that includes sample test questions, and there are testing tips sprinkled in as well. And there's even a free app for Apple and Android devices that allows learners to practice on the go by matching vocabulary words with their definitions for every unit. And I think that's pretty cool too. For at-level test preparation, our Score Boost series is a favorite. 11 to 16 targeted strategies and each of the 8 workbooks deliver and practice in 2-page lessons on the critical thinking, the problem solving, and the test taking skills that students need to pass the exams. And here's the lesson design for those of you not familiar with it. First, an explanation of the strategy is given. Next, there are 2 example questions using the think feature, which is written in the first person to model how the student should think through a problem. And the example questions model the task thinking process and walk the student through the problem step by step. There's a test-wise feature that provides a test-taking tip, strategy, or reminder as well. And now the student is ready to strategy to practice questions on the second page of each 2-page lesson. At the end of the unit, in each unit, there are 10 to 20 practice questions representing all item types for the task. Following the practice questions, the Score Boost action plan uses a diagnostic chart to determine where students need to do more work. So strategy by strategy, unit by unit, Score Boost provides cumulative task practice, ending with a task test practice and an answer key in the back that provides answers and explanations to all questions in each workbook. Another great resources are our calculator practice for the high school equivalency tests. Believe it or not, I'm about to wrap this up. This workbook teaches the basic functions for successful use of the TI-30XS multi-view calculator for the task test. Each unit includes calculator function explanations, examples, and activities. And the practice questions model typical task test items. This is an exceptionally good workbook. If you visit our website, you can even click the free resources tab to download free calculator practice worksheets and additional task test calculator practice. And speaking of our website, we're going to go there to look at one more resource for at-level preparation for the TASC math test. And then I'll call it quits for today, I guess. It's our comprehensive 3-book series, Math Sense, and let me go there. And make sure that I'm sharing. New share. Screen 1. Here we are. All right, so here is our website, newreaderspress.com. Type it in the search bar and then save it to your favorites. And you'll see here that we're a full solution provider for adult education, providing print products for ABE, pre-HSE, TASC, test prep, TABE, digital programs, including digital literacy, workforce readiness, English as a new language, citizenship. And not only can you find all our products, both print and digital here, but lots of free resources, news and upcoming events, task test information, and lots more. Now, here's where you'll find the task test prep materials. Over HSE test prep, move over to task test prep and click. And here they are. And here I'm going to click on Math Sense. And let me show you how handy this website is in the next couple of minutes here, and then I'm done. You can click on an individual book for Math Sense. Click. And then once you click on a book, there's ordering information at the top that you see here. Okay. Scroll down for a brief description of the product. And keep scrolling and you'll see correlations and free resources. And here we are, additional resources, the Math Sense simulated task test, an additional practice task test that you can download and print for your learners, a TABE study that correlates Math Sense with your students' IP scores and where they may need help, and correlations as well to the TABE, to Common Core, to college career readiness standards, all here on our website. And scrolling back up, you can actually look inside under each book to see the table of contents. Loading, loading. There we go. And here we have the table of contents and sample pages for one or more lessons to help you make a good decision as to whether this is something that you should purchase for your program. And these are PDFs, so you can download and print them for an even better look. Lastly, folks, let me point out where to find my contact information. It's right up here at the top. Find a sales rep and click on it. Then scroll down and find New York. Well, there I am for Alaska, but scroll down and find New York and you will find how to contact me. And why would you want to do that? I'll give you a couple of reasons right now, and then thank you for your time. I'd like you to reach out to me with questions, comments on today's session, requests. And speaking of requests, if you'd like to explore the online learning course that I showed you today for pre-HSE and or TASC, let me know. Contact me, right? Here's my contact information. Because we can set you up for a 30-day experience for you if you want to jump in and see it from a student's perspective, or we can offer you a free, no strings attached, 90-day pilot for your program. So reach out to me and find out more about how you can do that. 90 days to get your feet wet, you and as many learners as you want to set up. And I'll provide the training for you and get you all set up so that for this coming year, heck, you could end this year, go all the way into July with a free trial, a free pilot, and then look seriously at next fall and say, hey, let us get some of this. So you know what? I am out of time. We ran about 5 minutes late. For those of you who are still on the call with me, thanks so much for hanging in there. Again, still on the call, thank you so much for participating and all the information that you shared today. Again, we will be sending out, once we have all of this, we'll be sending out to you the recording and the PowerPoint PDFs as well. So for today, I'm Greg Stultz with New Readers Press, and it was Catherine Bienfait from DRC, and for NIACE as well. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive, just not COVID positive. How's that?